The Syndicate command was a study in cold, controlled chaos. The red alert, the deep fissure's harmonic frequency, had reached 98% critical mass, painting the war room in an angry, pulsing light. Global seismic activity was spiking across the secondary monitor, showing a rapid increase in deep ocean tremors that threatened every coastal city. The atmosphere was frozen with tension, yet utterly silent save for the technical readouts. Marcus Vex, the Council Executor, remained in the conference room, watching the mission telemetry with grim, clinical fascination, ready to pounce on the slightest tactical error. Abyss, a lone, silent submersible, nicknamed the Mute for its ability to operate without trace, descended into the 3-kilometer-deep Arctic trench. The crushing pressure was immense, distorting not only the acoustic readings, but the very air inside Ironwood Command. The pilot of the Mute, identified only as Depth, reported back, his voice crackling with static and the strain of deep-sea compression. "We have visual. The geological map was a lie. These aren't pillars. They single quotes, spines." I zoomed the console's visual data, bypassing the sub's distorted primary camera and accessing the high-gain spectral sensors. What filled the screen defied all known engineering. The 3 objects were not carved stone or rigid metal. They were biomechanical, like enormous vertebral structures, shimmering with an iridescent black sheen that seemed to absorb and twist the ambient light. They were drawing immense structured energy from the Earth's magnetic core, using the harmonic frequency not for brute force, but to tear open a space-time distortion. "It's not trying to breach the crust, it's opening a door," I realized, horrified, the full scope of Elias's hidden work crashing down on me. Elias wasn't hiding a weapon. He was concealing an exit point for something that wanted in. These are hinges, not drills. The moment the Mute reached the base, the structure retaliated. A massive surge of counter-harmonic energy struck the submersible, causing the display to momentarily white out. "We're hit. Primary stabilizers disabled." Depth shouted over the comms, his voice strained. "We can't deploy the dampener. The field is too unstable. We're being repelled." This structure wasn't just physical. It possessed a defensive intelligence. The harmonic frequency, now edging past 99%, was a shield. The entire ocean trench felt like a ringing bell, and the Mute was trapped inside the clapper. The central pillar, the nexus of the 3 spines, now radiated 100% critical frequency, beginning to glow a terrifying deep crimson. Massive underwater shock waves, the physical manifestation of the uncontrolled energy, began to rattle the Mute, threatening to crush the titanium hull like aluminum foil. The crew was now on borrowed time, seconds away from implosion. "The dampener needs to be placed at the nexus point, where the 3 spines intersect," I instructed, my voice steady despite the chaos, relying on the cold discipline Elias had instilled. "You can't get close enough to deploy the drone, Depth. The repulsive force is too great." Audrey stepped up, placing her hand firmly on the console next to mine. She was the decision-maker now. There must be an alternative. Elias always had a failsafe. A last resort for operational collapse. He did, I admitted, pointing to a rarely used section of the Syndicate's deep-sea schematic. "The Mute has an emergency external ballast system. It's highly volatile liquid methane, designed for rapid, controlled buoyancy shifts." If we overload it and use the resulting explosion to propel the dampener into the nexus, it might work. Audrey's gaze was unwavering, fixed on the red glow emanating from the Arctic map. It would destroy the submersible and kill the crew, she stated, the gravity of the choice absolute. I nodded. It's a calculated sacrifice. It's the only way to generate enough kinetic force to breach the harmonic field and deliver the payload. The explosion must be precise timed to the exact moment the harmonic pulse peaks. Audrey took the cone's length directly. Depth, this is Co-Chairman Thorne. We are initiating Protocol Phoenix. Self-destruct the ballast system for kinetic payload delivery. This is a direct order, and it must be executed within 60 seconds. A moment of heavy silence passed, filled only by the ominous seismic alarms. Then Depth's quiet reply, devoid of panic or regret. Understood, Co-Chairman. For the Syndicate. On the command screen, a small icon, representing the dampener drone detached from the submersible. A clock counted down the final 10 seconds. At 0, a blinding flash of blue energy erupted from the depths, the methane explosion. The kinetic impulse hurled the small, specialized dampener through the collapsing harmonic field and directly into the central nexus. The crimson light vanished. The 3 black spines went dark, the harmonic frequency dropping instantly to 0. Silence returned to the command center, heavier than the pressure of the ocean. The deep fissure was sealed. Relief washed over Ironwood, swift and dizzying, but Audrey and I knew the true fight was about to begin. We had neutralized the alien threat, but we had just violated every known Council protocol in the process. Marcus Vex entered the main command center, his face unreadable, his polished shoes clicking sharply on the metal floor. "A brilliant operation, Co-Chairman Shaw," Vex said, though his tone was anything but admiring, carrying the distinct malice of a man who just lost a bet but still holds the house deed. "You saved the world at the cost of one submersible, and a crew the Council was already ready to dispose of. However, your actions were unauthorized, disruptive, and required the liquidation of restricted assets without due process." Audrey stepped forward, placing herself squarely between Vex and me. "The Council is welcome to debate the process, Mr. Vex, while they still have a planet to debate on. The threat is contained. The Syndicate prevails." Vex pulled a small silver data chip from his coat pocket. "The Council has initiated a full-spectrum vote on your co-chairmanship. The results are being broadcast now." The main screen switched instantly from the silent Arctic map to a secure Council feed. A digital clock counted down the final 5 seconds. The result flashed in a cold, final white font. "Disapproved." "Your brief tenure is over, Operator Thorne," Vex announced, satisfaction finally curling his lips. He reached toward the heirloom ring on Audrey's finger with the confident expectation of taking immediate possession. "The Council will appoint a new head. You are relieved of duty." Audrey looked at the heirloom, then at me. I gave a subtle nod. We had reviewed Elias's files. She was ready. "The heirloom is the key, Vex," Audrey said, echoing his own condescending words from the previous episode. "A key to what?" She twisted the ring counterclockwise, initiating a hidden final command. Instead of activating any internal Syndicate lockdown, the ring triggered a completely different protocol. The screen Vex was looking at, the one showing the Council vote, suddenly froze, then displayed a single flashing message. Elias Thorne. Protocol Alpha Omega. Authority override. A recorded message from Elias Thorne, filmed in the same library where we confronted him, began to play. If you are watching this, my daughter, it means I failed to secure the syndicate completely. The fissure is not an external threat. It is the cost of the syndicate's existence. I built the organization on a promise to hide the evidence of a deep, non-human entity, the true force that controls global events. Elias looked directly into the camera, a ghost giving his final chilling confession. The heirloom ring is not a sign of leadership. It is a control module. When twisted, it initiates a hard network reset, erasing all existing council and executor credentials and granting absolute administrative authority to the current wearer and any partner they have ratified in situ. His eyes flickered with a disturbing pride. I did not want to share power, Audrey, but I knew the council would never allow a single ruler to hold the full truth. By appointing Caleb, you created an authorized vulnerability. The two of you are now the only recognized entities in the entire syndicate network. Everyone else is locked out. Vex stared, his face draining of color, as his security credentials flashed, revoked, across his personal terminal. His power, based entirely on bureaucratic validation, evaporated. You sealed the fissure, Audrey told Vex, her voice quiet and final, the power of the heirloom pulsing faintly around her finger. We sealed the council. We have restored order. Vex was swiftly escorted out by Ironwood security personnel, who now answered only to the two co-chairmen. The threat of political dissolution was over. I looked at Audrey, the weight of our new absolute power settling on us both. You knew the council would disapprove. You used me to create the condition for Elias's ultimate failsafe. You knew he needed 2 signatures for the final authority. Audrey smiled, a genuine, tired smile. I trusted your ability to solve the global crisis. Caleb, that trust was my ratification. Elias never understood collaboration, but he understood the need for a balanced equation. By forcing the shared title, I satisfied the requirement for the authorized vulnerability needed to trigger Alpha Omega. She extended her hand. I took it, confirming the pact. The heirloom, now pulsing with a faint, steady light, confirmed our link, the undisputed political head and the tactical mind bound by shared ambition and absolute secrecy. So, Co-Chairman Shaw, Audrey said, we have absolute control of a global shadow government, a planet saved from alien technology, and a massive power vacuum to manage. It's a start, Co-Chairman Thorne, I replied, already back at the console, pulling up the new restricted schematics for the deep fissure, now categorized as an archival site. Now we find out what else Elias was trying to keep hidden. The final perspective focuses on the 2 rulers. Audrey standing tall, watching the rising sun over the command center, the undisputed political head, realizing that the syndicate was merely a stepping stone to a far greater cosmos. And I deep in the systems, already searching for the next greater truth. The syndicate was rebuilt, stronger, darker, and facing an entirely unknown cosmos.